Welcome back to another video. In this one we're going over tons of tips and tricks in Rocket League ranging from strategic to mechanical to positional. So if you've wanted to get better at putting your balls in holes, you've clicked on the right video. Let's do this. At tip number 1, I want to start off with something that you all may be familiar with already. I like to call it the pump fake. The pump fake is a super simple mechanic that can be a little bit tricky to get down when you're first learning it, but it's an awesome tool to get your defender to back off. You simply flip over after your first jump, and use the second jump to get down to the ground quicker, and flip one more time to land on your wheels. When done quickly and precisely, it buys you a little bit of extra time to line up a higher probability shot. In essence, you're just faking an aerial. But on the topic of fakes, that brings me to tip number 2. Use ball cam when going for dribble fakes. Be honest, how many of you have tried to fake out your opponent like this? The problem with that approach is that using car cam doesn't help you get the proper space from your defender. Turning on ball cam when you attack from the side like this helps you judge the space way better. All it really takes is one button press, and then you're going to have a much better view of how far the defender is and whether you should fake, pass, or shoot. Now with this next tip, I'm always surprised to find out that people don't know about it. For most of the fields in Rocket League, particularly the new ones, there's incredible visual cues on the field that lead you straight to boost. One of the most common mistakes I see when coaching is that people either completely abandon the play to go get boost, or they miss boost because they're so focused on the ball. You can use your peripheral vision to follow these white lines, and that way you can keep your eye on the ball without having to risk missing boost. Seems pretty obvious, but most of the kids I've coached did not see this until I mentioned it. Now here's a couple tips for when you're playing backboard defense. Players at lower ranks typically aren't looking for where the defense is when they're going for a clear on their backboard. If you notice that the defense is shying away and waiting for your clear, try to catch the ball on your backboard and control it down into your corner. This way you avoid giving up possession and you play for control, which, when you climb the ranked ladder, is way more important than hitting the ball towards your opponent's net. The rule flips, however, if your opponent is still on the ball as it gets to your backboard. If they're still applying pressure, you want to fly out and meet them as early as possible. If you're finding yourself getting clipped on repeatedly, meeting the attacker early is your best fix. Now on to the next tip. We have one of my favorite ways to score in Rocket League, and that is the low 50-50. I love this mechanic because it's stupid easy to pull off and it works all the time. The only issue you might run into is someone is too low ranked to fall for it. If your defender is retreating and you have a smooth dribble, they'll most likely jump once you get close to the net, and then you just hit the brakes and drop it underneath them. And if you're playing a high rank, just make sure you also flip at the end of it to win the 50. If you don't want to deal with 50-50s and you just want to get the ball past your opponent, this next tip works all the time. All you gotta do is double jump instead of flipping into the ball when you're coming from the ceiling. Players are so used to waiting for the flip when they see you coming off the ceiling, so the double jump will give the ball a lot of speed and the bounce almost always catches them off guard. Of course, you can't avoid taking 50s altogether, so here's a way to win a lot more of them. Instead of flipping when you get to the ball, you should be using a lot more single jump challenges. When you use a single jump on your 50, you absorb a ton of the impact and you make sure your car lands ready to dribble the ball. If you're playing for possession and you want to start a dribble after the 50, the single jump challenge is the way to go. Let's talk about a few positional tips that I always find myself giving when I do coaching sessions. Firstly, most players are pretty bad at getting open for a pass. Time and time again, I see players positioned like this when their teammate has the ball, and when you flip the POVs, you can see that your teammate cannot see you. If you're upset that your teammates are never passing you the ball, start by making sure that you're actually in their line of sight when you want the pass. Just keep in mind that if you are going to aggressively position like this, you should also have the ability to get back on defense really quickly. On the topic of defense, I rarely see players getting inside their own net while their teammate is challenging. I watch a lot of low-ranked replays, and it's infuriating how often people stop on their baseline instead of getting inside their net. Defending from in your net gives you a much better view of the attack, and the momentum you gather pushes the ball out of your net instead of to the side. It shouldn't replace backboard defense or early challenges, but it's definitely something you should be doing if your teammate is going to go at the ball first. Here's another great defensive tip that should apply to everyone below GC2, which should be most of you. If your opponent is going to go for an aerial from their own backboard or corner, just let them. In my experience, GC2 is the threshold where this actually becomes threatening. Anything before that, they'll just give the ball straight to you. All you gotta do is go back to your half, wait for them to mess it up, and then say thank you for the ball. With that said, someone else who will thank you for the ball is your own teammate when you let them follow up their own save. This may be the most common advice I give in every single coaching session. At almost every rank, people will try to save the ball to somewhere where they can follow it up. If your teammate successfully made a save, they're also gonna want that boost that's near the ball. If you cut in front of your teammate to take the ball they just saved, they won't be there to help you on offense because they're getting boost. The only exception would be if your teammate intentionally passes you the ball with the save, or it goes right off your nose from a 50-50. Now here's a great tip if you're in need of a big clear or want to take a long shot. Take a look at all these clear attempts where I jump up and try to flip at the ball. The power's decent, the aim is good, but there's a much better way to generate a lot better clears in power shots. You actually generate more height and more power by just double jumping under the ball. This is super easy to do, and it's honestly much more consistent than flipping at the ball. It's also totally OP when someone is closing out and trying to block your clear. Now you might sometimes have a teammate who's trying to block the defender by demo chasing them. When you see that happening, you should keep the ball grounded and not make the mistake that I did here. If you keep the ball grounded while your teammate is demo chasing, you significantly limit the opponent's options. Taking the ball into the air just allows the opponent to jump over the demo attempt. Now this next tip is something I wanted to include because I missed it in this video, and while I'm on that topic, I'm a pretty small channel, so if you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. So, in that video I talked about doing cuxer pinches. What I learned after posting that is that there's actually a visual cue to get way more power on a cuxer pinch. You want to wait for the ball to roll right onto this line, and then you go for your pinch. It is amazing how much more power I generate just by waiting for the ball to reach this spot. The other tips I gave in that video still apply. You want your belly facing the net you're shooting towards, and you want to hold air roll when you pinch it. On to the next tip, we have something that I feel like should be common knowledge. If your teammate is the one taking a kickoff, you should be cheating up the field by default. Playing for control and possession is one of the most important things in this game, hands down. So that means you should be trying to take possession in your games as early as possible. If you really want that corner boost off the start, make sure you have on your left, on your right, or need boost equipped in your quick chats. Another thing I wanted to talk about was keeping the ball in your corner. Your own corner is one of the safest places that you can have the ball. If the ball is moving slowly in your corner, there's no rush to hit it out. It's also super important to make sure that when you go for saves, you're hitting it into your corner and not so hard that it gets there and bounces right back to center field for your opponents. Realistically, you could just stall here because a majority of 50-50s will be favorable to you. Now for the final tip of this video, my advice is to find teammates who follow all of the advice that I just talked about. Lucky for you, my Discord server is linked in the description, and my community is full of Rocket League players who are all looking to improve. People are frequently setting up private matches to practice all sorts of mechanics and new strategies, and I even join those matches myself. My server is also where I set up all of my free coaching sessions via lottery, so hop on in there to test your luck. Once again, please like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton, and if we hit 300 likes, I'll make another one of these. Thanks for watching.